The sad end of George Best tells us everything we need to know about him. When he died at just 59 years old in 2005, what was left of the handsome football star who once had it all? A broken man who had lost his looks, his money, and his health to alcohol. Even with his God-given talent on the football field, George Best could not escape the demons that followed him. The story of Best is a warning about how quickly fame, money, and addiction can destroy even the most gifted among us. The legend began with a simple telegram. In 1961, Manchester United scout Bob Bishop sent a message to manager Matt Busby that read, "I think I have found a genius." This genius was a skinny 15-year-old kid from Belfast named George Best. The shy teenager was so homesick after arriving in Manchester that he fled back to Northern Ireland after just one day. It took a personal call from Busby to Best's father to convince the boy to return. When Best made his debut for Manchester United in 1963 at just 17 years old, nobody could have guessed how quickly he would rise. His second game saw him score his first goal in a 5-1 win over Burnley. He was unlike anything English football had seen before. In an era when the game was built on power and strength, Best brought a new kind of magic. He could dribble past players like they weren't there, using quick feet, sudden changes of direction, and perfect balance. As Matt Busby said, Best was gifted with more individual ability than I have ever seen in any other player. Sometimes he seemed to have 6 feet. The years between 1964 and 1968 saw Best reach incredible heights. He helped Manchester United win league titles in 1965 and 1967. Then came the crowning achievement in 1968, when United became the first English team to win the European Cup. Best scored a crucial goal in extra time as they beat Benfica 4-1 at Wembley. That same year, at just 22 years old, he was named European Footballer of the Year, winning the prestigious Ballon d'Or. Off the field, Best became a cultural icon unlike any footballer before him. With his long dark hair, good looks and stylish clothes, he was quickly nicknamed the Fifth Beatle. He received 10,000 fan letters every week. He dated beautiful women, opened fashion boutiques, and lived the life of a rock star. While his United salary peaked at £250 per week, his commercial deals reportedly earned him around £100,000 a year, an enormous sum in the late 1960s. But reaching the top so young left Best with nowhere else to go. After the European Cup victory in 1968, something changed. His girlfriend at the time reported that Best showed no emotion on the night of his greatest triumph. It's as if, having won everything by age 22, he felt empty inside. This emptiness would soon be filled with alcohol, and the drinking that had once been social became something much darker. Around the same time, Manchester United began to decline as a team. The ageing stars like Bobby Charlton and Denis Law couldn't maintain their previous level, and the team slipped to 8th place in the league in both 1969 to 70 and 1970 to 71. Best, feeling the weight of carrying the team alone, grew frustrated and turned increasingly to alcohol for escape. The disciplinary problems that would define the second half of Best's career began to mount. In January 1971, instead of taking the team train to London for a match against Chelsea, Best spent the weekend with actress Sinead Cusack and earned himself a 2-week suspension. Later that year, alleged death threats from the IRA reportedly triggered what sources called a spectacular decline, with more drinking and missed training sessions. By 1972, things were falling apart completely. After spending a weekend with Miss Great Britain Carolyn Moore and missing more training, Best suddenly flew to Spain, declaring he was finished with football. Although he returned 4 months later, the conditions were telling. He had to live with teammate Pat Crerand and see a psychiatrist. His relationship with teammates deteriorated so badly that he refused to play in Bobby Charlton's testimonial match, choosing to spend the night drinking instead. In December of that year, after being found guilty of breaking a girl's nose in a nightclub brawl, the club placed him on the transfer list. The final break with Manchester United came in 1974 under manager Tommy Docherty. The common story is that Best was dropped after turning up late and allegedly drunk for training before a New Year's Day match. He was just 27 years old when he played his last game for the club, where he had become a legend. Years later, research revealed that Docherty had actually tried to sell Best to Queen's Park Rangers in a secret deal that fell through, adding a layer of betrayal to Best's departure. What followed was a sad, nomadic existence bouncing between clubs that never came close to recapturing his glory days. He played for over 10 different teams across England, Scotland, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Ireland. But wherever he went, the story was the same. Flashes of the old brilliance mixed with unreliability, missed games, and drinking problems. Best's drinking didn't just affect his career, it destroyed his personal life too. His binges could last for days or even weeks. During one particularly dark period with an American team, after Brazilian legend Pelé toasted him as the greatest player ever at a banquet, Best responded by disappearing on a 2-week drinking spree. He learned to make himself vomit so he could continue drinking even when his body could take no more. Blackouts became normal for him. The alcohol fueled violence as well. There were reports of domestic abuse toward wives and girlfriends, which Best didn't deny in his authorized biography. In one of his lowest moments, he admitted to punching his own 15-year-old son, Callum, during a drunken rage. Best's problems extended beyond alcohol to gambling and financial ruin. Despite earning large sums at his peak, by 1983, he was declared bankrupt with debts of nearly $180,000. During his bankruptcy hearing, he openly admitted that expensive cars, drink, and gambling had been his downfall. His famous quote summed it up perfectly. "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds, and fast cars. The rest I just squandered." The law caught up with Best repeatedly. He received multiple driving bans, including a 6-month ban for careless driving in 1968 and a 20-month ban for drunk driving in 2004. His most serious legal trouble came in 1984 when he was arrested and convicted for drunk driving and assaulting a police officer. He spent Christmas that year in Ford Open Prison. In a sad symbol of how far he had fallen, he even played football for the prison team during his sentence. By 2000, decades of heavy drinking had devastated Best's health. He was diagnosed with severe liver damage, with his liver function down to just 20%. By 2002, it was clear that only a transplant could save his life. The operation sparked immediate controversy. Many questioned whether it was right to give a scarce, life-saving organ to someone whose condition was self-inflicted through alcoholism. With hundreds on the waiting list, and some dying before receiving organs, critics argued that Best was less deserving than others whose illnesses weren't their fault. Even Best's doctors seemed to recognise the risk of giving him a new liver. They took the unusual step of implanting antibiotic pellets post-transplant to deter him from drinking. Despite reportedly achieving 12 months of sobriety before the surgery and receiving explicit warnings that drinking would be fatal, Best was soon seen drinking in public again. This relapse caused widespread anger and disappointment. The final chapter of Best's life began in October 2005, when he was admitted to intensive care with a kidney infection. The drugs required to prevent his body from rejecting the transplanted liver had weakened his immune system severely. The infection spread, eventually causing lung problems and multiple organ failure. On November 25, 2005, George Best died at age 59. Even in his final days, Best seemed aware of the cautionary tale his life had become. From his hospital bed, he requested that a photograph showing his ravaged appearance be published with the message, "Don't die like me." It was a final acknowledgement of how alcohol had destroyed him. His funeral in Belfast drew an estimated 100,000 mourners, a testament to how deeply people still cared about him despite his flaws. He was buried next to his mother Anne, who had also died from alcoholism. George Best's story remains one of the most powerful examples of wasted potential in sports history. He was, without question, one of the most naturally gifted footballers ever to play the game. For a brief, brilliant period in the 1960s, he lit up football pitches with skills that seemed to come from another planet. Yet his legacy will always be shadowed by what might have been. Had he controlled his demons, stayed at Manchester United, and maintained his focus, there's no telling what heights he might have reached. Instead, his career effectively ended at 27, and the remaining 3 decades of his life were a sad cycle of addiction, failed relationships, health problems, and regret. The tragedy of George Best is that all his extraordinary talent on the field couldn't save him from himself. The same drive that made him brilliant made him self-destructive. In the end, we're left not just with memories of his magical skill, but also with the sobering lesson of how quickly it can all slip away. The man once called the fifth Beatle, who had the world at his feet, died alone in a hospital bed, his body broken by the very fame he had once embraced.